Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the Jeet Kune Dialogues, episode number 254. We're going to be talking this evening with Forrest. So, I should have asked you before, is it Caudill or Caudill or
It's
something else?
Caudill.
It's Caudill.
Different parts of my family say it so many different ways, but I say Caudill.
Okay, so where different parts of your family, where are you guys from overall?
Um, Half Scottish, half Irish, and then
Oh,
landed in
man.
America, and then dispersed
Y'all. Oh,
everywhere.
okay, so y'all are messed up.
Oh yeah, yeah. My
Half Scottish, oh God.
yeah, I know that's a dangerous combination. My friends,
Yep.
we put the fun in dysfunctional.
In my family, we put the dis in family. Right?
Nice.
Yeah. So because somewhere then somebody spells it Coudhill. I
Mm,
bet you, right?
probably, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody does. Okay. But all right. So I gotta tell you this. So we have well no. Okay, you and I have one thing. Wait, did I introduce you? Did I tell people who you are?
I mean, my name, you got that.
Okay,
It's
let me
not
go back again.
Caudill. We know
Let
that.
me let me go back to that. Right, I'm so excited to talk to Forrest. All right, so this is Forrest Caudill from Austin, Texas. Impact Jeet Kune Do. Right. All right. Let me just get to it because I'm excited to tell you this. So when you were 10 years old, you just told me that's when you reached out to Linda Lee.
Mm.
Okay. You know that's weird for a 10-year-old, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Jump forward another 10 years and I'm a creepy dude.
Okay. So how explain that to me? What if you don't mind telling me what year that was?
Yeah. Well, I'm about 40 now, so
Okay.
about 30 years ago. And I was roughly 10 years old. I don't exactly remember, but um, I lived in Boise, Idaho, and
Mhm.
it's actually funny because I was a huge fan of Bruce Lee, but there were
Right.
no Jeet Kune Do schools. I mean, Boise was a lot smaller. Now it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
growing leaps and bounds, but it was a lot smaller at the time. And so I get into all these like recreational karate and that sort of thing, and I'd be doing the forms, and then because all the Bruce Lee books, he punched with a vertical fist. I would look around if the instructor wasn't looking. I'd turn my fist like this, and and so I was always like really enamored with Jeet Kune Do. And
Mhm.
then somebody just mentioned that Linda Lee actually lived in in
Boise.
Boise, Idaho,
Right.
and I found out her current last name and looked her up in the phone book back when we had phone books and
Hmm.
called up. It actually wasn't her; it was her current husband, and
Right.
spoke with him. And then I would just like call him every like maybe every once a month just to ask. Which it had to have been really weird to just have somebody call a guy to ask about your wife's widowed
Right.
husband, because I'm just asking, what about, did Bruce Lee do this? Did he do that? What was his thing with this? And then one day in the mail, Linda Lee had sent me this. So I only talked to her husband, but
Mhm.
she sent me her biography book, a really nice letter on Jeet Kune Do stationery, and a picture of her son Brandon. And like to me, that was like
Yeah.
gold right there. Like somebody
Yeah.
just sent me the biggest gift I've ever gotten. And in the letter, she mentioned that Chris Kent was looking at moving down, that she was trying to get him to move down to Idaho so
Hmm.
that he could open up Jeet Kune Do there and really start it going. And so every day, we didn't have a computer back then. The computers were at the school. So every day I'd get to school a little early and I'd go up to a library and I'd turn on a computer and go to his website just
Yeah.
to see if he said anything about coming down to Idaho yet. And so as soon as he was there, very first
Right.
class, I was in there. So
But that's hilarious because my mom told me that when I was 10 years old, I told her I wanted to be Bruce Lee. Right. So we have that in common. So I just realized something else then. So your approach, calling the Codwells repeatedly, is somewhat similar to Chris Kent calling Dan Inosanto somewhat repeatedly before he was accepted, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah.
Right? And then, so at the first location, that's where you never missed a class. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, other than he had daytime classes when I was in school, but as soon as I get out of school, I'd come home, change my clothes, head over there, and train all night. And I
Mhm.
I was about a mile, so I felt extremely fortunate because he got a gym a mile from my house.
Yeah.
So, and Chris Kent was always sort of this idol to me
Right.
because one, he had just released a video series called Dynamic Jeet Kune, and
Mhm.
to my little like 10-year-old brain, the one thing that could be better than Jeet Kune would be dynamic Jeet Kune. So I was like, this
Yeah.
has got to be amazing. And then two, I had a magazine on it called Martial Arts Magazine, or sorry, Martial Arts Masters Magazine. And he
Uh-huh.
was on the front cover.
Mhm.
And so I just always was like, man, he is the guy. And so when he opens up it, yeah, yeah.
Do you have this one too?
I don't have that one. No.
Okay. You know why
I
you
want to
got to
get
get this, right?
Why do I need to get that?
Okay. You need to get this because this is the magazine in which Chris, at the time, still Chris Nuds, right, first appeared with Dan Inosanto.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. March of 1976.
Crazy.
Okay.
Wow.
So you'll probably have to pay about $35 for it. But I think if you go to ma-mags.com or eBay or one of those, you can find it. But it's Fight in Arts, March 1976. And I know it's something that you would want to have in your collection,
Yeah.
right? So here's another thing that I realize you have in common with a Jeet Kune Do luminary. You never missed a class. You know that Dan and Asano never missed a class during the 2 years that the Chinatown school was open, right?
I did not know that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems like a sponge. I
Yeah.
mean, as soon as jujitsu came on the scene, he was like in his 70s maybe and got
Yeah.
his jujitsu, maybe 60s, got his jujitsu black belt. Like that guy just seems to just soak up martial arts
Well,
left and
yeah.
right.
He has said words to the effect that it's not so much that he prefers, right? Probably better to say that he enjoys being a student as much as he enjoys being a teacher. So sometimes it's like people like me and you, we teach every day. When we get a chance to go to a seminar and just be a student, it's such a relief.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about being in charge. You don't have to worry about being the one on the spot having to highlight whatever. You can just stay in the back and be nobody. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So the other thing I was really excited to talk to you about is Mike Massey. I didn't know that we had Mike Massey in common,
Mm.
right? Because he was certainly now. Is he what's it called? The Fight and Fit Boot Camp. Is that through Mike Massey or is that through Bedros Koulian? Which one is it?
Oh,
Or through
it was
neither?
Mike Massey. It was Mike
It is
Massey.
Mike Massey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Bedros was a Fit Body boot camp.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, interesting that you actually know who Bedros Koulian is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you stay on top of the business side of things, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Mike Massey, and hold on one second. Mike Massey, he actually it's funny because yeah, that's one of the things that I was like, man, that's awesome that like I've seen your interview with him, seen
Hmm.
seen your interview with Chris Kent. So it's really cool that we do have those connections.
Yeah.
Mike Massey, so he helped kind of mentor me in getting my own thing started. I had
Right.
joined like his how to start a martial arts gym company when he back like in 2010
Hmm.
ish,
Yep. Yep.
and
Right.
at the time as we started talking, found out, hey, I'm in Austin, Texas. He's in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
So we started meeting together and he's helping me build the gym. And one of the big things that he told me was, if you want to be a full-time martial arts instructor, be a marketer first and a martial artist second, or a martial arts instructor second. And I was like, so I started kind of gobbling up different marketing books. And something that's kind of funny, because you've been on my radar a lot longer than probably even, well, I don't know when you started, but you've been doing these podcasts for a minute, which is phenomenal. Like, as the torch kind of gets passed in the Jeet Kune generations, like there's like this treasure chest of wealth from the earlier generations. That's thanks to you. And so that's awesome. But even before that, so one of the things that was always said in these books was, if you want to get good at writing good, like website copy, and find other websites you really like, and just get a notebook and write down word for word what they say until you kind of get used to that style of writing. And your website was actually I've got a notebook with like a week's worth of every day. I wrote your website.
No,
by line. So
that's so hilarious.
Fun. Yeah.
That's okay. All right. So here's the thing, right? Okay. So if Mike Massey was here with us and we were to mention the name Dan Kennedy, he would know who he is. Would you know who he is?
Yeah, legendary copywriter.
Okay. If we were to mention the name Gary Halbert, Massey would know. Do you know who Gary Halbert is?
I don't.
Okay. So if you know who Dan Kennedy is, you got to go back a little bit, right? And find out who Gary Halbert is, because I'm pretty sure. So I learned that same technique, right? About writing it out. Okay. Word for word. I first heard that from Kennedy, but I think he got it from Halbert. So I actually wrote out one of Halbert's websites, right? Every day. But that's man, I feel honored that you picked my right? Because so here's the funny thing. You know who wrote the script for my telephone answering information call? Dan Kennedy.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. Because when I was a student at Glaser Kennedy, on one of the calls, we got to spend like our own 5 minutes or whatever, and so I recited what I had already written out, which actually the first version was more influenced by Brian Tracy, right? So I read it out to him and he goes, okay, that's pretty good. He goes, but here, do this and do this instead and this other thing instead. So Dan Kennedy ended up writing my information call script. Right?
That's insane.
Yeah.
He's like the Bruce Lee of that era, of that of the marketing.
Man, you must have been channeling me in 2006. My first attendance at a Dan Kennedy Bill Glaser event, I sat back in my seat and I go, these guys are the Jeet Kune of marketing. That's exactly what I said to myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right.
I kind of look at marketing as it's a lot like sparring, because you are competing with the other gyms in the area, but you're not getting punched in the nose for it. So it's you get to play the game a little bit without taking the damage that comes with it.
So what, for people then who are like, marketing, what the hell does that have to do with teaching martial arts? What would you say is the biggest misconception that people have about the business side of martial art, and why some people might still be afraid of it?
Yeah. Well, the probably a main thing is just that piece of, if you want to do this full time, you probably either have to find someone that's a great marketer and work for them, or be a great marketer. But the other thing, like, I think that every martial arts instructor should have an understanding of marketing, because the perfect martial art to the wrong audience is the wrong martial art. And so to me, I think part of being a good martial arts instructor is knowing how to get what you teach in front of the right person
Mm-hmm.
and to get it in front of a lot of people. So I think, I'm working with this girl right now. She's 13, such a sweetheart. I do private lessons with her once a week, and it's just building her confidence. And she started because I think her mom had said that she gets bullied, and she's just coming out of her shell. And if you don't know how to market, then you don't know how to put what you can help people with in front of that person. Like, you don't know how
Right.
to let people know you're there.
Right.
And I think also, if some people are a better fit for jujitsu than for Jeet Kune Do. And
Mm-hmm.
so knowing how to frame what you do in a way that isn't just, hey, I teach martial arts, and
Yeah.
somebody comes in and they're not quite a good fit and they would be better. They would excel more and have a bigger passion for jujitsu versus Jeet Kune Do. It doesn't do them a favor. You want people to know exactly who you are, what your message is, and you want
Right.
to know how to broadcast it to as many people as possible, so the people that are looking for you and can't find you, because
Right.
there's a million options to choose from.
Right.
Some martial arts gyms, you go in and they throw you into sparring and they kick your butt, and the goal is we want to weed out the weak and get the guys that are going to do the best in competition. And
Yeah.
that's great for people that want that. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's other people, and I think we kind of fit in this, where it's like, man, the people we bring in, we don't want the people that are just seething to jump in and start, banging it out. We want the people that are, in their 30s, 40s, a lot of them that are sitting behind a desk all day and just want something that isn't working in a box,
Yeah.
getting in their car, driving home to their box, eating dinner, watching TV, going to bed. They want something in the middle. And so if we don't know how to market, we don't know how to let people know, hey, not every gym is, you might go into this gym, get thrown in, go, hey, martial arts is not for me, and
Right.
then go back to just traveling box to box. And
Yeah.
so it's almost a responsibility to be able to say, hey,
Yeah.
this is what we're about. Come into here.
Right. Um, do you can you think of what that whole market message media, right,
Hmm.
that you're talking about there? Do you remember what Dan Kennedy called it?
Uh-uh.
Okay, the first time I saw it, I was like, I am so in the right place. It was the market message media triangle.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so now he's talking Filipino Kali. I'm so in
Yeah.
the right place.
That's
Right?
awesome.
Yeah. Hey, listen, do you have anybody monitoring this to see? Because I think I can't tell if we are actually live on Facebook. Did you have anybody?
I don't.
Um, no? Okay, no problem.
I
I'll
can
try
go to
to.
Facebook and see, but I guess that would
Well,
do
I'm
some
on
damage.
there, but see, but I don't know if it's showing me. It shows me live with you, but I can't. But that might just be because it's on my page. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's not a big deal. We're definitely live on the YouTube, so
Yeah.
at least somebody's seeing us. All right, I'll fix it in post. But they'll miss this fascinating conversation, right? So all right, so let's talk about so you trained with Chris. You said from the first class until the last, but what does that mean? Did he close or did he just move or did you move?
Oh, I just meant like as I would get home, immediately put on my stuff, head there. I would bike to the gym, and then the very first class he had, which was usually a beginner class, I would be in it. I would jump in and be in it, and eventually led the beginner ones for him. And then
Mhm.
at the end of the class, he would usually be dark. He would throw my bike in the back of his car. I'd help him clean up for the night, and he'd give me a ride home. And that was just like basically every day. He
Mhm.
was closed on Fridays, I think, but every other day he had a class. So I would just, or classes from about 5:30 till
Yeah.
8:30 maybe, and I would
Yeah.
just go and train, and then I'd come home, my food would be in the microwave, I'd heat it back up, and then go to bed. Everybody else would already be in bed, so so that's what I mean. It was more day to day. I was there.
Okay. All right. So when when did you start thinking, okay, I want to be the Forrest Caudill version of Chris Kent?
Um, you know, I don't remember a time when I wasn't planning on teaching martial arts. I used to drive my family crazy because I did really bad in school. And every time they would like, you need to get good grades so you can get a good job. And I'd be like, I'm going to teach martial arts. They're like, you
Right.
can't do that. That's not a real job. And anyway, I don't know. There's never a part where I didn't,
Okay.
but I do remember being really excited when I was throwing kicks on the pads, and Sifu Chris Kent's wife came up to me, Leslie, and was like, you move just like a young Chris. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the first time that that I saw him move, because I met his partner in crime, Cass Magda. I met him before I met Chris. And I met Cass, and I was very impressed with the way Cass moved. And then I met Chris, and I go, "Oh, that's where Cass gets it from." Right?
That's cool. I never
Yeah.
got to meet Cass, but he always talked really highly of him. So
Yeah. Well, if you ever do, they're like brothers. It's ridiculous. What does your family say now? Because you've been full-time professional martial artist for how long now?
13 years.
Okay.
13 years.
So what do they say now? The ones who used to say, "Oh, that's not a real job."
They're probably waiting for it to fall down, to collapse. I don't know. No,
Yeah,
they're supportive. No, my family's
yeah.
they're happy for me.
Right. And well, I mean, I doubt very much it's gonna fight. Look, if people didn't fall down during COVID, I don't see how they're gonna fall down at any other time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
what was the COVID story for you guys in Austin?
Yeah, that was a fun whirlwind. It's it's funny. My wife, so she used to teach yoga classes for us. She is yin and yang with me. Like, I'm this very energetic person, and she's very chill and calm. And
Okay.
in some ways, the pandemic really brought that out in us, because she there was a period. Now, it was really hard, but there were definitely some periods where we were making things work. We were changing things out, doing the online thing, and coming up with programs. We did this like rent a bag program where you could rent a bag, and then we started marketing to get more people training online and all this. And I remember at one point I told Sarah that, my wife, I told her, like, I know, like, this all seems really bad, but there's a part of me that's like really excited about all the things we're creating right now. And she's like, that makes no sense to me. She's like, I'm freaking out. And, but I'm over here like, this is actually kind of exciting. Like, we could do this and we could do that. And so, but there were definitely, it's one of those things where there were a lot of rough patches, but I always try and think about, like, everybody's going through those rough patches. It is one of those things where if you make it through the pandemic, not everybody's going to make it through. And when you see, things, basically, if you can make it through, then you're going to be able to come out better and stronger. You know what I mean? And so there was something that I found really inspiring at the time. There's a guy, Eben Pagan, and he has a book called Opportunity. And my wife and I were like, let's read that during this time, because, we don't want to focus on the negative. And he talks about that this thing called the emergent property. It's basically the idea that if you get a bunch of, you get cells and membranes and all these, you create a person even though it's just a bunch of random items together, they make a person, or two hydrogen atoms and an oxygen, right?
Yeah.
H2O, something like
H2,
anyway,
yeah.
and you've got water. So something bigger than the sum of its parts emerges.
Right.
And so with the pandemic, there's sort of this thing of like, even though it sucks, something is going to emerge out of that couldn't have emerged without kind of going through that crucible.
Yeah.
And so I just sort of kept believing that that would be the case. And it definitely was. During that period of time, I knew a lot of gyms were going to be shutting down. And I thought, well, you know what? Now's a great time to try and find a really awesome coach to help me build. At the time, we had like 12 different coaches, but each one taught like a couple of classes. And nobody had a ton of skin in the game as far as, I wanted to do a lot more with the gym than just teach classes. And nobody, everybody was doing kind of as this little side thing. They got a little bit of money for, but
Right.
I wasn't paying their bills.
Yeah.
And so when the pandemic happened, we lost most of the coaches. Then I thought, I need to bring someone on full time. And right now is the best time to find an amazing coach that is basically kind of on sale, someone I can afford right now. And so I found a gentleman in Chicago named Coach Corey. And sure enough, he was teaching out of an MMA gym. And he's a very active competitor, extremely passionate about martial arts, like just off the charts. That's all he does. And certified in Jeet Kune, but also certified in a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And so he came down and started working with me and started a Muay Thai and a Jiu-Jitsu program and just helped really rebuild the gym. And now he teaches the bulk of the group classes, and I teach mostly the private lessons.
Okay.
And so it's sort of freed me up. We've created something. And so sort of this like I have, when I hear stories about the Jeet Kune Do greats, the people, my instructor, and you grew up in that time period where you got to actually grow up with these guys and learn from these guys. And I hear the stories, and one of the things that just captures my imagination is that idea of that backyard group that Daniel Santo had. And my understanding of it, and of course, correct me if I get any history wrong, but my understanding was when Bruce Lee became really famous, he shut down the schools, the Jeet Kune Do schools, because he didn't want a flood of people to come in. And now Jeet Kune Do sort of just becomes this thing where it's the only way to teach a big class is like, here are techniques 1 through 10, and so he wanted to keep Jeet Kune Do a smaller group. And so you had and then from what I understand, that's where the Jeet Kune Do concepts approach sort of came out. Was Daniel Santos said, well, I'll teach to the group, I'll teach to the masses Jeet Kune Do concepts, and then to the backyard group, we'll go with the original Jeet Kune Do curriculum. Is that sort of the?
That's essentially it. I think there are other aspects to it, because but you're correct in the numbers, small numbers, or low numbers but high quality, right? That was definitely a Bruce Lee thing. But and then there's also the idea of Jeet Kune Do not becoming too commercial, and to this day, there are still people who will accuse other JKD people of being commercial, right?
Yeah.
So a long time ago, I said, well, you use the adjective commercial, I use the adjective professional.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay, because you're well, no, I have a job, and Jeet Kune Do is my side hustle. Okay, all right. Does anybody pay you for it? Yeah, they pay me. Okay, you're a commercial then, right? But you're not professional because you don't do it for a living.
Yeah.
Right? And see, this is the thing. Anybody who opts to do this martial art for a living But Jeet Kune Do as the martial art, the martial art, which is the baby of one of the most famous martial artists of all time, but as your teacher says, has such an identity crisis that even though everybody in the room knows who Bruce Lee is, only 1% of the room knows what Jeet Kune Do is.
Mm.
And that's not right. There is no way that things should have evolved that way. But I think in for too long in the early days there was this anti-commercial stance with
Yeah.
regards to Jeet Kune Do. So you put it in the backyard, right? And you develop some really badass people. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But demand is an interesting thing. And that's what started to happen. And that's why they moved out of the backyard into what was nicknamed the Kali Academy. And then
Yeah.
things started to grow and grow from there, right? The Jeet Kune Do concepts thing, um, I've never asked Sifu Inasano, but I wonder if he could do it again, if he would even do that, and call it Jeet Kune Do concepts, because it was never his intention to, by doing that, to say there's two separate things. There's two separate approaches, right? And it's only people who have some kind of an agenda that will push that idea. The Jeet Kune Do nucleus itself, in one of their declarations, said, it is our opinion that there is no such thing. There is no separation between original Jeet Kune Do and Jeet Kune Do concepts. So if that comes from the organization that was founded in order to promote Bruce Lee's teachings, if that's their conclusion, it becomes my conclusion. And anybody who wants to argue it, go argue with them, right? Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So it takes. I that's why I really admire people like you, who have the courage to do this thing in a because you did you ever have to deal with the idea, with the realization that okay, well, I'll tell you what my experience was, and then you tell me if you had something similar. Prior to 1993, okay, Jeet Kune Do sold itself. It was the number one avant-garde. If you wanted to do something in martial art, but you wanted to do something different, you looked for Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah.
In August 93, UFC 1 hits and everything changes. Because now the Gracie name almost overnight becomes a household thing. So now people are looking elsewhere. Did you go through anything like that?
So I was young enough. I remember when that happened. I don't think, geez, so 93, I was 9 years old. I remember when that came out, and my parents wouldn't let me watch it, so I would just hear about it. So I had in my mind, basically, I think I kind of missed out on that for a lot.
Okay.
I think the UFC, I think what you went through, I was still too young. I missed that part. But I remember my one regret I have now is I did wrestling for a semester and then I quit because I was like, I want to put all my time towards real martial arts. And now all the wrestlers just wipe everyone out. I'm like, duh.
Yeah. But that's interesting. Okay, so now the other thing that I noticed, well, actually, no, let's not. We'll get to that. So, if somebody says, "Describe to me, Forrest, what you do in one sentence," can you do that?
With lots of commas in there. No, I guess, I mean, to just say, I teach martial arts, that's probably too simple. But um, I guess maybe give me an example. What would you say if I ask you, what do you do?
Well, so it varies. It depends on who I'm talking to, right? But it usually goes something like this. So you know how you know who Bruce Lee is, right? They'll go, yeah, right. I go, what do you think of him as like a martial artist? They'll go, oh, he was the best. I go, okay, well, I'm qualified to teach his martial arts system as a vehicle for personal development. That's what I do.
I'm going to steal that. I like
That's
that.
right.
That's great.
That's right. See, because here's what I discovered a long time ago. I don't know if you've ever seen on my Facebook on is it yeah, I think it's my personal page. The quote is the art of self-defense is actually the art of self-development.
I hadn't seen that, but I like
Right?
that.
Yeah. So that's one of my mottos. That's one of my slogans, right? Now, an extension of that is this, and you feel free to use this any way that you want. If we think about all the positive human qualities, is Bruce Lee an example of all those qualities?
All the positive human.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say yes.
Yeah. Right? If we're talking about discipline, dedication, perseverance, persistence, all the things, right, that the parents bring the kids to you to develop, right? All the things that the adults come to you, but they don't know to tell you that that's what they're there for, right?
Yeah.
So when they go, oh, I just want to get in shape. Yeah, okay, I understand. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yeah.
But we know that even for the ones who don't want to touch it, it's a deeper thing than just getting in shape.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But I notice. Okay, well, wait. I want to get into the fitness thing with you, but let me hold off on that again for a second. You when you graduated high school, what did you do? Where did you go? Did you go to college?
I didn't. Yeah.
What did you do? This is interesting.
What did I do? Well, so I grew up Mormon. So I went on a mission.
Okay.
I went and knocked doors for 2 years.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So and then I came back and then moved to Texas and started doing my thing.
Okay. At what point then did you become a personal trainer?
That was mostly, I would say, influenced by Mike Massey.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of that, like if it, he wasn't the one that coined this. I heard this somewhere else, but this idea of having your freedom business and then like your passion. And so your freedom business is like what you do to bring in the money, and then the passion is what you actually love to do. And kind of the way that he would maybe say it is, the freedom business is either you're teaching fitness or you're teaching kids classes, because as far as fitness goes, most people want to lose weight. Most people want to get fit. Most people don't want to get punched in the nose or become the next Bruce Lee or
Right.
And so it's like, if you're only marketing to the people that want to be the next Bruce Lee, you've got a very small market. But if you
Right.
market to people that want to lose weight, doing something that isn't just lifting weights or running on a treadmill, then so the kind of the fitness route, the kickboxing, the fitness kickboxing was sort of my freedom business. It was something that I enjoyed doing. And I honestly, I don't know which one I like better. I love delving deep into the technical aspects of martial arts, but I love the just kind of goofy playfulness you can have when you teach a fitness kickboxing class. But that one is the one that sort of like paid for me to teach Jeet Kune Do the way I wanted. Because, there's another thing. Jeet Kune Do, I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you've seen this because, I know Chris Kent is not a fan of kind of the like seeing like belts coming out and just a lot of things in Jeet Kune Do that maybe are designed to help stroke the ego and get some extra money in, but kind of goes against some of what Bruce Lee was trying to do. And the beauty of having something separate allowed me to run the Jeet Kune Do program the way that I wanted to run it and not go, well, if I don't, add belts to the system, then I'm not going to be able to pay my bills next week. It's like, I can pay for things with the, I can market the fitness kickboxing, and the Jeet Kune Do people, they're going to find me. It's not hard. If you're looking for Jeet Kune Do, there's only so many of us around. Right. So,
I never understood, right, why JKD people did not look at the successful Taekwondo or karate schools, right? And you go, okay, so wait, so they have like the general classes, and then they have Black Belt Club. See, to me, since Black Belt Club is where all of the high aspirants, that's where you put them. That's where they want to be, right? So for me, the Jeet Kune Do the Jeet Kune Do club was the equivalent, right? Or the Phase 4 club was the equivalent of the Karate Black Belt Club. So we had the general program, but then you did everything the same way that the karate schools, today it's a terrible word to use, but the same way that they groom people towards Black Belt Club. We did the same thing, but there's no way that I would ever use the term Black Belt Club. Hell no, right? But it's just, what do they want? These are people who want to get to the next higher level. Well, that's it. That's the next higher level. The way I broke things down, Jeet Kune Do is the highest level that there is, right? So, but you were talking about the number of people who want to get in shape, right? Okay. So here's the fantasy question. If he had not died in 1973, Bruce Lee would be 83 this year. Would he still be in shape?
Well, there's that famous quote of like somebody asked him, when you're that old, he's like, I'll be the most badass guy at the old folks home or something like that. The right. Quote I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So,
right.
I mean, his passion, I don't see. Did you ever hear a story? I don't think I'm making this up, about him like doing like a V-sit hold in front of the TV while like bouncing Brandon on his stomach to keep his abs like, check, while pumping a dumbbell. And I can't imagine what he'd do.
I don't know if that's humanly possible to do, right? because I mean, I've seen the picture of him doing the V-sit, but he's using both hands, right? So, but who knows? But see, so right there, even if what you're promoting is fitness kickboxing, you can still use Bruce Lee as a marketing icon.
Yeah.
Because he fits right in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right? And you're going to tell me that there's no fitness kickboxing student who wouldn't enjoy watching the Bruce Lee Chuck Norris fight scene in Way of the Dragon? Come on.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Right? 100%. So if we're going to keep, or if we're going to make or remake or keep Jeet Kune Do relevant to today's crowd, and if today's crowd is into fitness, we can still use him. Still use him. Unfortunately, well, I don't know. You tell me what you make of this. Everybody, since so many people became influenced by the UFC in 1993, as the UFC evolved, but became a cultural phenomenon, became a societal phenomenon, my theory is this, and you tell me what you think of this. UFC athletes are in phenomenal shape. Everybody sees them every weekend, and they want to be like them. That's why the fitness kickboxing aspect, like you just said, they want to be in shape. They don't want to get their noses bashed in the way the UFC fighters do. but they want to be as fit as they are. So why don't we take the kicking and punching and elbowing and kneeing aspect of Jeet Kune and promote that in a fitness kickboxing program? Doesn't that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so one of the things that that I suffered through until I realized why it wasn't necessary was thinking that Muay Thai was the kickboxing art for conditioning, right? But then along the way, I realized, whoa. The rear round kick in Muay Thai, right, that makes you huff and puff.
Yeah.
Your lead leg Jeet Kune side kick should produce the same effect.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right? So right there, all we got to do is to inject that Muay Thai attitude into what you could call Junfan kickboxing or JKD kickboxing or whatever.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I remember like the worst classes to go to as far as was going to exhaust you were when we were doing a lot of pendulum side kicks, side kick, back and forth. So yeah, no, I think that would be. Now, would you use the term Jeet Kune kickboxing like as a marketer yourself? Like, how would you market? So I always try and include
Well,
yes, yeah.
I wouldn't be far off now, would I?
There we go. Yeah.
No, but I'll tell you what I did. Okay, because again, learning from the karate schools around us. Okay, it's all about levels, and everybody wants to level up. Right? Okay. So for me, so you see your shirt, what it says on your shirt?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what I did. If you go to somebody, what's a favorite lunch spot in Austin?
Cilantro. Do they have cilantro? Cilantro is one of my go-tos for lunch.
Okay. All right. So that's probably like Chili's here in Miami, which is where I used to test out all of this because we used to go to Chili's for lunch almost every day, right? So much so that I never had to wait in line and I never had to speak in order for them to bring me my lunch. Okay. And it was always my server, even if I was not in her section, right? Everybody knew, leave Dwight alone, let Tony take care of him, right? Okay. So I used to conduct a lot of experiments at Chili's at lunchtime. So here's one experiment. You say to somebody, hey, what's a kick? They go, it's when you use your leg like this. Okay. What's a punch? Well, that's when you go like that. I go, okay. What's trapping? I don't know. What's grappling? Because remember, this is previous to UFC, right? What's grappling? I don't know. Okay. So everybody knows what kicking and punching is. So start there. You see, because trapping and grappling, because of the nature of what they are more sophisticated than kicking and punching. So you can't start with that. If you intend to be well-rounded, you can start with it if what you're going to teach is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't, and nobody's going to question you on it because it's the most popular thing in the world. But in JKD, so I broke things down. So you know how, have you ever heard this? I don't know how much experience you guys have with the Penjak Silat. So it's kind of like the mother art was Sirach, but the carrier system, so kind of like the lower level arts for the understanding of Sirach were things like Tongkat and Bukti Nagara, right?
Okay.
So for me, JKD is the highest level. So Junfan kickboxing is the starter point. That's a carrier system
Okay.
for Jeet Kune, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
you see where I'm going with this,
Mhm.
right? So now, since the trapping and grappling are more sophisticated, that has to come at a different point in the student's career. It cannot come in their first 3 months. They're still learning how to tie their laces. So it's
Yeah.
got to come later. So Junfan Gung Fu, right, is the next level up from Junfan kickboxing. Now, Junfan kickboxing combined with Junfan Gung Fu, that's what delivers you to the understanding of Jeet Kune Do.
Got it. Got it. I like
That's
that.
how, okay. That's how I broke it down to be able to not separate things, right, but kind of compartmentalize them, but to show the student the vehicle. In the karate school, they can put up the whole thing with the belts, right? Here's the white belt, here's the yellow belt, here, and they can put that on a plaque, on the wall,
Yeah.
right? Okay, which we did too, by the way, right? But not with belts. Actually, what am I saying? We did do it with belts, but you want to hear about this?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I resolved never to use a belt system in my school because to me, that would be the ultimate sacrilege. I
Mm.
don't, right? And I've said this many times over the 4 years that I've been doing this podcast. I've said this many times. So, any of my JKD colleagues who found that the belt system worked for them, more power to you. If it worked for you, good. I never would do it.
Mm.
We did relent a little bit when we started the Little Dragons program, but they were 4, 5, and 6 years old, right? So I mean, I can't really impress them on this is not a belt system. So right, so I forgive myself for that. But from age 7 up, we and here I don't have it, but I had to justify it. So in 1988, I think it's August of 1988, Inside Kung Fu. Do I have it here? No. But there's a famous article that shows Bruce Lee's colored ranking system.
Was that the yin yangs?
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So here's my justification. If Bruce Lee made use of a colored ranking system when it suited him, then I can make use in Jeet Kune Do of a colored ranking system if it suits me.
Yeah.
I'm not going away from anything that Bruce Lee didn't do, even if ultimately he did away with it. Ultimately, I'm going to do away with it too. Because when somebody's been with me for 10 years, you think they're still interested in rank?
Yeah. That's
You know?
amazing.
So I'm going to do away with it ultimately as well. You see what I'm saying? Right?
Mm.
So yeah, yeah, I mean, I'll talk to you about this another time because I don't want to do the talking. I'm interviewing you. How do you address the whole idea of rank and level and what have you? Does anybody ask you about it?
Yeah. I actually had somebody asking me today, and I mean, I just tell them levels. We just do levels. I have played with our fitness people. I've played with different colored wraps, so kind of the belt thing, but with
Okay.
wraps. That was kind of inspired by Savat because they do the colored gloves.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So um, the belts definitely feels very, like you said, sacrilege. But I don't know. I'm not too opposed to giving somebody rank, and as long as at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't think people like become where they chase the belts. I think people are either showing up wanting to chase external validation or they're not.
Right.
And that's just by, seeing people come into jujitsu, which does have a very regimented belt system. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the people, they don't really care. Like, it's like, oh, cool, I got the belt. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there's just too much training. and it's too easy to buy a belt. That's like, who cares?
Right.
And the people that do chase belts fall off when they realize they don't get the next belt after 3 classes.
Okay. You want another story about what I used to do at my school?
Yes.
If the topic of black belt ever came up, right, I'd go like, okay. So this is in the initial consultation, right? And the topic of black belt comes up, and somebody says to me, "Well, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that you guys don't have like a belt system." I go, "Why? Because the black belt is important to you?" They go, "Yeah." I go, "Okay." So I reach into the drawer and I hand them one. I go, "There you go. Now you have a black belt, and you don't even need me for this. You can order it off Amazon." And they go, "Oh." I go, "Yeah, see, now it doesn't seem as important as you thought it was, right? What's important is the work that you got to do to get to that black belt." Yes. Wow. Okay, so now let's talk. Right? So now we continue.
That's cool. Yeah. Sure, you get some jaw drops.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But you know why I did things that way? Because Bruce Lee is the original radical. So if I'm going to be a descendant of his, then the way I do things, it can't be when you come into my place, it cannot be the same as going into the karate school 3 miles away from me. When you get to me, you got to go, whoa, 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 this is something else. Because they're shopping around.
Yeah.
Right? So when they get to you, it can't be like, oh, well, this is the same as the karate school. No, you got to present something different. And I think that what we have to this day that's still different is Bruce Lee. Nobody else has it.
Yeah.
Nobody else has it. But I bet you there are probably karate schools or taekwondo schools or maybe even Krav Maga schools that do a better job of linking themselves to Bruce Lee than Jeet Kune schools do.
Yeah. That's interesting. You mentioned Krav because, yeah, I remember talking to a guy about Krav, and he was telling me that, a lot of those guys love Krav guys that go Jeet Kune seminars and Jeet Kune guys that go to Krav seminars. So there's a lot of kind of co-sharing going on. And I was actually kind of curious. I actually wanted to ask you if like, since you were around back then, did you notice that sort of exchange among the two arts?
What I observed was the excellent promotional vehicle that was Krav Maga. That's what I noticed. They were doing a lot of things that should have been done in the JKD world because they tailored their presentation to the audience, right? See, I think that sometimes people don't realize that Jeet Kune Do. So I have a saying, and I got in trouble for this a few months ago on Facebook, because here's my saying: at my school, we shape the art to suit the person, not the other way around. So people misinterpret that to say, oh, so then people could do anything the way that they want to do it, and you call that Jeet Kune Do? No, you idiot. That's not it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I don't expect the 18-year-old kid and the 48-year-old guy to do things exactly at the same level, because it's not going to happen unless the 48-year-old guy is like some kind of superhuman. That's what I mean about shaping the art. You give people the freedom to express themselves to the best of their ability, which is what Bruce Lee preached, isn't it? So I don't understand why so many people in JKD just don't get this.
Yeah.
To me, it's ridiculous, right? All right, so let's talk some more Chris Kent. What do you have a favorite Chris Kent book?
Jeet Kune, the textbook, was the very first book I ever saved up money to buy
Okay.
because I mean it's the textbook,
Right.
it's everything. So I think that one's my favorite. I really liked at the end how he breaks down like different like like the sparring drills, like lead
Uh-huh.
hand versus like that's how I train all my guys through sparring now is they start off lead hand versus lead hand, then lead hand foot to lead hand and foot, and then
Yep.
both hands, and then we start mixing it. All right, you're both hands, you're lead hand and foot, and and it creates a lot of like you might be really good at kicking, but if he's
Hmm.
lead hand and foot and you're both hands, you have to get good at how do I get past the foot
Yep.
and get to punches where
Yep.
now I have two hands and he only has one. So I use that model to actually in the book. He just kind of shows us like various ways to spar, but I
Right.
actually use it as sort of like a stepping stone on the way to full both hands, both feet spar. And so I'd say the textbook has been the most useful to me as an instructor.
Okay. Um,
What about you? Do you have a favorite? Is it that Jeet Kune Do kickboxing?
nah, actually, it's A to Z. Um, volume. I never got the combined the encyclopedia, so I still have the separate volume one and volume two. And I'll tell you why. It's his writing.
Mm.
Okay, I love the way he writes, and I've sucked up to him very often. Right, he'll post something, and I'll be like, Chris, I love the way you write.
Uh,
Okay, um, let me ask you this: do you know anything about the 1985 accident in Trinidad?
mm-mm.
Okay. All right. So if you don't know anything about it, then maybe after this, you can ask him about it, whatever. But I will tell you this. The reason why I love and respect him and always will love and respect him is because I saw what he is made of.
Mm.
Okay. However many years ago that was, um, 38 years ago or what have you. Right. And so he will always be somebody that I admire, that I honor and respect. I don't care. I don't care what other stories you could tell me about him. Right? In my experience, he's had like that was the thing. Um, I had intended to I had intended to go through, but I just realized we've been on for 60 minutes already, and I don't like to take up too much of people's time. But let's do it quickly, right? Because I went on your website and clicked on all the little buttons that you have, right? So, like the first button is um, direct connection to Bruce Lee. Okay. And then it says, you didn't get an online certification or seminar thing. You got it through training with Chris Kent, one of Dan Anastano's original backyard students. Why is that important?
Um, so I don't want to say it's I would say it's what if somebody wants that, then it's important because honestly I think that there are some amazing Jeet Kune Do instructors and amazing instructors that just learn from different that seems to be a very common thing right now is people who are certified through going to seminars with Chris Kent and a lot of other guys. And I've had the privilege of training with some of them and been and really learned a ton. But I
Right.
think there's something you get from that, and then
Yeah.
there's something you get from basically being like kind of the same influence day after day after day. And
Hmm.
I guess I don't mean to say like one is necessarily better than the other. I think it just produces a different result. And somebody that's looking for a Jeet Kune Do school might want one, and someone else might want another.
Yeah.
And some people might like learning from an instructor that's had a variety of other instructors. Ron Valiki, and there's so many legends out there that if you go through kind of the seminar circuit, you can be exposed to a lot. And then there's something about learning from the ground up with one instructor.
But okay, I get what you mean. But you know what? I don't know. I'm trying to think now if I ever had somebody come to my school who had a deep insider knowledge, a knowledge of the inner workings of Jeet Kune Do, right? And so they could formulate, oh, well, have you trained with a variety of people, or have you just trained with Dan and Asano, or what have you, right? Yeah. See, so here, but I'll ask you this: do you think that in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that people value a connection to Helio Gracie?
I would say yes.
Right? Gracie name. Do you think that in the world of Kyokushin, people value a connection to Masutatsu Oyama?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So we will value our direct link to Bruce Lee, as long as it's a real direct link. If it isn't, if we're making stuff up, then we deserve whatever we get. But if it's accurate, then there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. The second element is a complete self-defense system, right? And you connect it to MMA, but then you disconnect it by showing. Actually, it's interesting the language that you use, because you say, unlike MMA, the goal in a street fight is usually to remain standing. So is that where you? Well, why is that the copy? Did you write the copy for this?
I think so, yes.
Okay, all right. So tell me why you wrote it that way.
I guess because to me that's what Jeet Kune Do has stood for, is being a well-rounded fighter, and in MMA, because it is you versus another person, and the winner is whoever gets the knockout or the submission, the goal set becomes different. So you can take someone to the ground, no problem. Like that, you are on as equal, or you're on as safe of a playing field as you were standing up. But if you're in sort of a situation where you might have to deal with other attackers, or you might have to deal with weapons, staying standing would be preferable. Not to say you shouldn't know what to do on the ground, but and even then, in most cases, staying standing, if somebody just comes out of nowhere and you're dealing with a situation, immediately deciding, well, I'm a ground fighter, I'm going to take this to the ground, might make the situation a lot worse.
Right.
If you know that it's not going to make it worse, then go to the ground. But I guess so. I'm saying, like, training wise, the emphasis wouldn't be as much on the ground fighting as maybe you would find at MMA, where it's going to be maybe a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
With
So this is what I use. It's on this page in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do. This is how early it occurs, right? And it says, some martial arts are very popular, real crowd pleasers, because they look good and have smooth techniques, but beware. Okay? So that's what I use. It doesn't say, but ignore. It says, but beware. So Bruce Lee was smart enough to understand that you should look for the value in what is out there. And the truth is, the world in which we live now, grappling is much more prevalent. Many more people are familiar with it than 40 years ago, 50 years ago. So if we're gonna fulfill the Jeet Kune Do quest to be well-rounded, we got to have a way to deal with it. You don't have to become it. So Jeet Kune Do people are famous for saying that there's boxing in Jeet Kune Do, but we're not boxers, right? Okay, so there's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Jeet Kune Do, but we're not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys,
Right.
To me, it's the same thing. It all has to do with understanding and being and being well rounded, right? An organized system of progression. Why is that important to be on your landing page? I think it is.
Yeah. I guess first, same reason that somebody would want belts. They want to know that, okay, am I just going to show up and be given random things like today we're
Mm-hmm.
doing this, tomorrow we're doing
Mm-hmm.
that, and there's no track that you're following, just because we don't like. I think the nice thing with belts is it gives you the sense of there is a path that you are following, as
Right.
opposed to like like if you go on YouTube, you can watch every technique that is under the sun, but there's no path that kind of guides you through here's what you need now and here's what you need
Right.
next and here's what you need next. And so that's, I guess, what I'm saying there is that there is a path, that Jeet Kune isn't just, all right, today I'm in the mood for us doing this. It's like,
Yeah.
here's the next progression that is for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there is that popular contention that Jeet Kune Do is a combination of styles,
Mm,
or it's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, or the whole what's it, jack of all trades but master of none, right? And
yeah.
it's unfortunate that people don't know. And I shouldn't say this because I can't remember the rest of the quote, but if you remember the rest of the quote, it completely negates the first part, which is the best known part, right? Because I think it's something like a jack of all trades but a master of none is better than a master of one. I
I'd
think that's
actually
the,
never heard the second part. I didn't know
yeah,
there was the
I
second
yeah,
part.
I think that's the entire quote, right? Which colors it completely differently now,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the Greg Nelson version of it, which is master a few and jack everyone. Right. Okay, so I'm not gonna uh, I'll just tell people, and then they can visit your website and see for themselves. But then the other buttons, one is labeled lots of training variety, a positive introduction into sparring, a full fitness program, the true spirit of martial arts, and reality based self defense. And I want to commend you on that, because to me, what you're doing is hitting all of the hot buttons for why somebody would be interested. Somebody might come in interested in a real self defense system and then become attracted to the idea of the true spirit of martial arts because they didn't know anything about it before,
Mm.
or vice versa. So I think you've done an excellent job of putting it right there on the website. That it's like whatever it is that you're looking for, I'm pretty sure that we can handle it for you, right? So I think that was something else. All right, so let's wrap this up. I had made a note about something. Um, Okay, wait. Let me try to find it. It doesn't matter, right? Okay, so let's do this. Summarize for me then, Forrest. What Jeet Kune Do means to you.
Mm. Um, Man, you did such a good job with that one sentence thing. I'm like, I gotta have.
I'll send you some follow up stuff on that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I I think ultimately, so this will be a little bit longer than a single sentence.
Okay, that's
So,
fine.
have you heard of a book called uh, "On the Warrior's Path" by Daniel Bolelli?
I know the author's name. Yeah, I've heard of it, but I can't say that I've read it.
So when I was trying to decide, like, there was a point where I was deciding, do I actually want to open up a martial arts gym and run it versus doing something else?
Mhm.
I read that book, and that really sort of re-inspired my passion for wanting to go through and teach. And in the book, he did such a great job of illustrating. Like, I never knew why I like to train. Like, for me, yeah, like Jeet Kune Do, oh, it's the best martial art for self-defense. That's what my tagline was in my head. Like, but really, I mean, I was raised on the mean streets of Boise, Idaho. Like, I didn't get in fights, so so I've always kind of wondered why I really value martial arts and Jeet Kune Do in particular. And I think it really is well, he does such a great job in the book breaking down a lot of stuff. But I think for me, Jeet Kune Do is just about a lot of kind of what you were saying, the cultivation. There's something about that space between going to work in a box and going home to go stay in a box, where like there's this free spirit, like Bruce Lee talks about the art of self-expression. And the Tao of Jeet Kune Do has all that part just on art, right at the beginning, under the on Zen, just all this stuff about art itself, not even like martial arts, just art and the expression of the human body. And I think Jeet Kune Do especially, I love that Bruce Lee emphasized that, because you grow up, like I did the forms, and you try and mold yourself to fit the box. And I think what I loved about Jeet Kune Do is it does pull in a more playful, creative energy into your training. And because of Bruce Lee's model of like learn from everybody, absorb what's useful, reject what's not, that sort of approach, like I get to train, like I train with a lot of different martial arts of different arts, and we hold mitts for each other and we spar with each other and we'll exchange ideas. And there's not any sense of like, well, that's not Jeet Kune Do, so I'm not going to, well, let me show you how we do it. It's this give and take. And I think, to me, to say like, I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you call it. If you enjoy training and you enjoy hitting a pad, it doesn't matter if you threw a Jeet Kune Do jab, straight punch, or you threw a boxing jab. But I think what I love about the name Jeet Kune Do and what it means is that I think Bruce Lee, that openness, that freedom. There's a quote in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do where he says most people don't trust things of their own creation. And so they like to imitate because they can trust that. They feel like, well, if it's already been done before, then I can trust that, but they don't trust themselves. And I think, I can tell when I'm wanting to imitate. And I love that that Jeet Kune Do constantly reminds me to basically just enjoy the training and pull from other things and be open to other things and not be locked in or boxed in mentally. I think, some of these very creative thinkers have a lot more in common with Bruce Lee than a lot of martial artists do. And I think,
oh, sure.
Yeah. And I think constantly exposing myself to the writings of Bruce Lee and these other thinkers sort of just kind of keeps Jeet Kune Do in a little more of a playful place, a renewing.
Yeah, keeps it fresh.
Yeah, so I would say that's what Jeet Kune Do means to me. It doesn't really matter what martial art. If you're having a blast hitting a bag or hitting pads or sparring with somebody, it doesn't matter what you're doing. But I think the fact that Bruce Lee was so adamant about self-expression, and I think that's kind of the heart of really taking Jeet Kune Do from just being a fighting style to being a cultivating thing, is what it means to me.
Cool. Excellent. All right. So, Forrest, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, my website. The website so AustinImpactJKD.com would be the probably the easiest way, or on Facebook.
Did the naming of that have anything to do with Dave Carnell?
No, it actually had to do with a cute girl. I wrote down about 24 names on a piece of paper when I was working as a server at a restaurant, and there's a cute girl, and I needed something to talk to her about. So I was like, which of these sounds cool? Because I'm going to open up my own gym, and she wanted like awesome impact. So I was like, done.
Okay. All
So
right. Nice. Nice.
yeah.
All right. Is there anybody that you can think of that you've wanted to see on the show with me that I haven't had on, or that I should bring on again besides Chris Kent? I got to tell you a funny story. I think Chris Kent was episode 35. You're episode 254. He was episode 35,
Wow.
right? Yeah.
You've had him on more than once.
I
You had
have.
him on recently.
Yeah, well, not. I mean, it's time for him to come back, but it's up to him. But the first time I brought him on, and we finish up, and the phone rings, it's Cass Magda.
Oh,
He goes,
cool.
Dwight, what the hell? I go, what? He goes, Chris said this and this, and you didn't go deeper with it. You just went on to your next question. I was like, oh, okay. So I called Chris back and I go, hey, can we do it again? Right? So he became 35A and 35B, right? Because Cash was pissed. And I was like, okay, if there's two people in JKD I don't want pissed at me, it's Chris Kent and Cass Magda. So I was like, all right, let me do this over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but is there anybody did you ever think about anybody?
Man, so there's a guy, he goes by Mitmaster Matt is his thing, but Matthew Chapman. And
Is he in the UK?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
He gave me a lot of insight into Jeet Kune that I didn't have. There was a period where I was kind of like, the trapping's fun. It's not the most practical. And I got into his stuff, his online stuff, and really enjoyed like I feel like Chris Kent helped me become a really good as good of a martial artist as I am. He helped me the most. But I feel like Matt Chapman did the most to help me really become a better instructor. And so I started going over there once a year to train with him. And he helped. I don't know. He changed my entire view on trapping to where now, I love the stuff. The way that I teach it is a little bit different now, and more influenced by him. But also, he's just, I don't know. And he is a really fun guy to talk to, and a really interesting guy. He's got a lot going on, and he's a Jeet Kune Do guy who's also competed in MMA and Muay Thai and all these other things. So he'd be someone, if you end up having him on, I would definitely be excited.
All right. Yeah. Well, like I've said before, I don't think I'm ever going to run out of people. You know what I mean? I'm 4 years into it, and actually, I'll tell people now. One of the things that I'm working towards is being able. See, like you just said, you go over there once a year. One of the things I'm working toward is being able to literally take this show on the road and get on an airplane with my tripod, with my camera, with my laptop, with two microphones and two headsets, right? And sit down in front of somebody and do the show live in their environment.
That would be cool. If you were to do that, you should also do like a companion video of them teaching some of their favorite drills and techniques and sell it. Cause would be.
Don't tell anybody, but that's going to be part of it, but that's going to be for the membership site.
Yes. That would be an awesome.
Yep. If everything moves ahead smoothly, that should be in place like in the next couple of weeks.
Wow. So this isn't just like,
not the traveling part, but that teaching aspect. Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's on the way. It's on
the way. That's so cool, man. That's so cool.
All All right. Well, listen, Forrest, it was great to meet you, man, and really, really good to talk with you. You know, you'd been on my radar, but you know, there's some other guys that I hope they see you and they go, oh, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I should accept Dwight's invitation. Because there's a lot of guys that I have reached out to, and for whatever reason, they won't do it. They just won't do it, right? Some of them don't trust me. I think that's what. Anyhow, all right, man. Listen, have a great weekend. It was great to talk with you, right?
Yes.
And
And I
we'll
do
do
want to
this.
say, man, I was really excited when you reached out because you are definitely somebody that I've admired from a distance for a long, long time. So thank you so much. And
No, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, you have a great weekend, man.
you
Take
too.
care. All
Bye.
right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, and others. Um, that was episode 254 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. So feel free. I think Facebook messed me up again. I don't see it showing up in my Be Live platform here. I just see the YouTube stuff. So I'm gonna have to when I sign off, I'll have to go check on Facebook and see if it did carry over. But I can't see anything here that says it does. So my apologies for that. Um, I'll look into it again. I tried to talk to Be Live earlier today before we went live, and nothing came out of it. So anyhow, but go ahead and comment. I'll ask Forrest to take a look and see if there's anything he needs to reply to. Right, and that's it for today. Feel free, share, like, comment. Um, I'll review after posting. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods, on Instagram at Dwight D Woods, at paypal.me/unifiedma. The Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1 is available. PayPal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. And if you want to support the show, visit jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this, the Unified Martial Art Academy Kali JKD t-shirt, available long sleeve, short sleeve, hoodie. And I checked. This is not a coffee mug thing, so sorry about that. All right. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Dialogue. So, till the next episode, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. You guys have a great one. Talk soon. Take care.